Dr. Kim Mingi stared at her computer screen in the small research station on New Horizon Colony. The numbers made no sense. The storm coming toward them was bigger than anything she had ever seen. It covered 3 whole star systems and seemed to eat light itself. She walked quickly to the main control room, where Commander Park Jin-ho was looking at reports from other colonies. He was a tall man with kind eyes, but today those eyes looked worried. "Commander Park," she said, her voice shaking a little. "You need to see what's coming." Park looked up from his papers and followed her to the big window that showed space outside their colony. The distance, they could see a wall of darkness moving toward them. It looked like a storm, but storms in space were not supposed to look like this. This one seemed alive, twisting and turning like a giant snake made of shadow. "What is that thing?" asked Lieutenant Lee Suman from her desk nearby. She was in charge of talking to other ships and colonies. "I don't know," Minji said honestly. "But my machines say it's eating everything in its path, not just destroying it, actually eating it and making it disappear." As they watched, alien spaceships began flying past their colony very fast. The beautiful crystal ships of the Voidwalkers zoomed by without stopping. The big warships of the Kethmoran people, who were famous for never running from a fight, were also running away as fast as they could go. "Sir," said Suman, listening to her radio. "The Zephyrian Fleet Commander is calling us. He says we need to leave right now. He's calling that storm the ending storm, and says nothing can stop it." Park watched more alien ships fly away. Some of these aliens had lived for thousands of years and had seen everything the galaxy could do. They were all running away. This storm must be very dangerous. "Commander," said Chief Engineer Han Dae-won as he walked into the room, oil on his hands from fixing machines. "The alien evacuation ships are asking if we want to come with them. I have room for all 800 people in our colony." Kark looked around the room at his people. New Horizon was their home. They had worked for 10 years to build farms and cities here. The humans had come from Earth to make a new life, and it had not been easy. They had survived food shortages, machine breakdowns, and storms before. "What do we know about this storm?" Park asked Minji. "It's not natural," she said, pulling up pictures on the big screen. "Look at how it moves. Regular storms follow the laws of physics, but this one seems to think about where it wants to go, and wherever it goes, planets just stop existing." On the screen they watched as a small moon simply fell apart and disappeared into the dark storm. There was no explosion, no fire. One moment the moon was there, and the next moment it was gone. "The alien captains are getting scared," Suman reported. "They say their grandparents' have stories about storms like this, but they thought they were just old tales to scare children." Dr. Yang Xia-jen, who studied alien life, looked up from his books. "I've been reading the old alien stories. They call it the hunger that walks between stars. Some say it was made by a race that died out long ago as a weapon of revenge." Park walked to the window and put his hand on the glass. The storm was still far away, but it looked bigger now. "How long until it gets here?" "Die. 6 days," Mingi said quietly. The room went silent. Everyone knew that in 6 days they would either be gone or dead. "Sir," said Suman, "the Zephyrian commander is asking for our answer. Do we want to evacuate?" Park thought about Earth so far away. He thought about his family who had died in the journey to get here. He thought about all the work they had done to make this place home. Then he looked at his team, these brave people who had followed him across the galaxy to build something new. "Send a message to all the families in the colony," he said. "Tell them to come to the main hall tonight. We're going to vote on what to do." "What do you think we should do?" asked Minji. "I think," Park said slowly, "that humans don't run from storms. We study them, we learn about them, we find ways to beat them." Han Dae-won smiled a little. "My grandfather always said that the best way to deal with something scary is to understand it first." But Sir Suman said, "What if we can't understand it? What if it really is too dangerous?" Park looked out at the approaching darkness. "Then we'll face it as humans always have together, and without giving up." That night, 800 colonists gathered in the main hall. Park told them about the storm and about the choice they had to make. When he finished talking, there was a long silence. Then, one by one, hands went up. Not to leave, but to stay and fight. The first outer settlements went quiet on day 3. Not destroyed with explosions or fire, they simply stopped existing. Dr. Kim Mingi watched her screens as the signals from Mining Station Alpha just disappeared. One moment the miners were sending their daily reports, and the next moment there was nothing but empty space where their home used to be. It doesn't leave anything behind, she whispered to herself, checking her instruments again and again. No pieces, no dust, nothing. Commander Park Jin-ho floated through the zero-gravity section of their main station, moving from room to room to check on his people. Everyone was working hard to get ready for the storm, but he could see fear in their eyes. Still, they kept working. Chief Engineer Han Dae-won was covered in sweat as he pulled cables through the walls of their orbital station. "We need to make this whole station able to move," he said to his team. "If we can't run from this thing, at least we can dance around it." "How long do we have?" asked Engineer Kong Min-woo, helping to carry a heavy power unit. 3 days, maybe 4, Dae-won replied. "The storm is moving faster now, like it's getting excited about eating us." In the communication room, Lieutenant Lee Soo-min listened to radio messages from across the galaxy. What she heard made her stomach feel sick. Kethmoran Empire, whose warriors had fought wars for 10,000 years and never retreated, were abandoning their homeworlds. "Commander Park," she called over the intercom. "The Kethmoran battle fleet just broadcast their final message from their capital world. They're leaving everything behind, their temples, their weapons, even their ancestors' graves." Park stopped floating and grabbed a handrail. The Kethmoran people would rather die than show fear. If they were running away, this storm was worse than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Dr. Yang Saijin looked up from his research computer, his face pale. "I just received data from the Voidwalker Collective. These are beings made of pure energy, who can travel through space and time. They're scattering in every direction, hiding in places between dimensions." "What does that mean?" asked Park. "It means that even creatures who don't have physical bodies are afraid of this storm," Yang said quietly. Through the big windows of their station, they could see the refugee ships. Thousands of them, from dozens of different alien races. Ships that looked like flowers, ships that looked like crystals, ships that looked like metal fish, all running away as fast as they could go. Minji studied the storm through her telescope. It was beautiful in a terrible way, like a flower made of darkness that kept growing bigger. But as she watched, she noticed something strange. "The storm is changing," she announced. "It's moving differently now. Before, it was just moving forward, like a wall, but now it's reaching out with long arms of darkness toward the fleeing ships." On her screen, they watched as one of the arms of storm touched a refugee ship. The ship didn't explode or break apart. It just faded away like smoke, and the storm seemed to grow a little brighter. "It's hunting them," Park realized. "It's chasing the ships that are most afraid." Communications Officer Choi Yoonji picked up a message from deep space. "Sir, we're getting a transmission from the Ancient Council. These are the oldest beings in the galaxy. Some of them are millions of years old." "What are they saying?" asked Yoonji's hands shook as she read the message. "They're saying goodbye to the galaxy. They think this is the end of everything. They're flying their ships into the center of the galaxy to hide near the black hole, hoping the storm won't follow them there." The room became very quiet. If beings who had lived for millions of years thought there was no hope, what chance did humans have? Da. But Park looked around at his people and saw something different in their faces. Yes, they were scared, but they were also angry. Humans didn't like being told they couldn't do something. "Status report," Park called out. "Team has finished making the station mobile," reported Dae-won. "We can move, but not very fast. Science team has all the storm data we can collect," said Minji. "I still don't understand what it is, but I'm learning." "Communication systems are working perfectly," added Soo-min. "We can talk to anyone in the galaxy, if anyone is still listening." Park nodded and activated the colony-wide communication system. His voice went out to all 800 people on the station and the nearby facilities. "People of New Horizon, I want to tell you what we're seeing out here. Every advanced civilization in the galaxy is running away from this storm. Beings who have lived forever are hiding in the deepest parts of space. Warriors who have never lost a battle are abandoning their homes. He paused and looked out at the approaching darkness. But we're not them. We're humans. Our ancestors looked at oceans and decided to cross them. They looked at mountains and decided to climb them. They looked at the sky and decided to fly too. The stars. Today we look at this storm and we decide to understand it. Through the radio, he could hear people cheering from all over the colony. They were still afraid, but now they were also determined. The storm kept coming, and the humans kept working. The storm hit New Horizon Colony like a wave of liquid darkness. Dr. Kim Minji watched from her laboratory as space itself seemed to bend and twist around them. Her instruments went crazy, showing readings that made no sense. Temperature, gravity, time, everything was wrong. "Commander Park," she called into her radio, "the storm isn't just destroying things. On something else." Park Jin-ho stood in the colony's main control room, watching screens that showed the storm swallowing their outer buildings. But some buildings were still there, protected by strange bubbles of normal space. "What do you mean, feeding?" he asked Minji. Studied her computer screen, trying to understand what she was seeing. "It's not eating the metal or the rock. It's eating fear. The more scared people are, the stronger it gets." As if to prove her point, they watched a small research station disappear. The people inside had been sending panic messages for hours, begging for rescue. The moment their station was gone, the storm seemed to glow brighter. All stations. "This is Commander Park," he said into the colony radio. "Start Protocol Defiance right now." Across the colony, something amazing began to happen. From every building, every ship, every small outpost, humans began broadcasting everything that made them human. Music filled the radio waves, old songs. From Earth, new songs written by colonists. Even children singing silly songs they made up. Engineer Han Dae-won was in the machine shop when the protocol started. He turned on his radio and began reading from a book of poems his grandmother had given him. Around him, other workers started sharing their own stories about their families. Their dreams, their favorite foods from home. In the school building, Teacher Park Soyoung helped 30 children draw pictures of Earth. "What do you miss most about home?" she asked them. "Ice cream," said little Kim. "Jun-ho, age 6, and my dog. Ah! And the way rain smells." The children's drawings and words joined. The broadcast, mixing with scientific data and family photos and love letters, where these broadcasts reached, something strange happened. The storm slowed down. It seemed confused, like it was trying to eat something that tasted bad. Small pockets of normal space appeared around the broadcasting stations, like islands in an ocean of chaos. "The interference patterns are working," reported engineer Kang Min-woo from Station 7. "It's like our refusal to give up hope is making the storm sick." Dr. Yang Xiaojin was in the greenhouse dome with 17 families who had come there for shelter. The children were not crying or hiding. Instead, they were drawing pictures of the storm with colorful crayons. "Look, Dr. Yang," said 8-year-old Lee Min-hae, holding up her drawing. "The storm looks like a big, angry cloud. I think it's sad because nobody wants to be its friend." Yang looked at the child's picture. She had drawn the storm as a lonely monster with tears coming from its eyes. "What do you think we should do about that? Maybe we should tell it that." "We're not scared of it," Min-hee said. "My mom says that bullies are usually just scared kids inside." Yang smiled and picked up his radio. "All stations, this is the Greenhouse Dome. We have a new addition to our broadcast, children's advice. For lonely monsters. Commander Park." Listened to the children's voices joining the colony-wide broadcast and felt something he hadn't felt in days. Hope. The storm was still all around them, but it couldn't seem to get closer to the buildings where people were sharing their humanity. "Minji," he called to the scientists, "what's happening to the storm?" "It's designed to feed on despair and fear," she answered, checking her instruments. "But we're giving it the opposite. We're broadcasting joy, hope, love, curiosity, all the things that make humans keep going when everything looks impossible." Through the thick walls of the storm, they could hear something else, faint radio signals from other survivors. Alien. Voices, scared, but still alive, calling out for help. "Commander," said Communications Officer Choi Youngji, "we're picking up a distress signal from a Zephyrian research ship. They're trapped about 50 kilometers from here, but they're too afraid to move." "Can we reach them?" Park asked. Engineer Uno looked at her maps of the storm. "If we extend our broadcast network, we might be able to create a safe path to them." "Do it," Park ordered. One by one, humans in small ships and maintenance vehicles drove out into the storm, carrying broadcast equipment with them. They played music and told jokes over their radios as they placed the equipment, creating a chain of hope bubbles through the darkness. When the rescue team reached the Zephyrian ship, they found 6 alien scientists huddled in their storage room. "Too terrified to even look outside? How are you not afraid?" asked the Zephyrian captain, his voice shaking. Rescue team leader MG Hoon smiled. "Oh, we're scared. We're just too stubborn to let being scared stop us from doing what needs to be done." As they guided the alien ship back to safety through their network of broadcasts, the storm seemed to pull back a little more. It was still huge and dangerous, but for the first time since it arrived, it was not growing stronger. The humans had found its weakness. It could eat fear, but hope made it sick. 3 weeks had passed since the storm surrounded New Horizon Colony. What should have been their death had become something no one expected. Humans were not just surviving, they were helping others survive too. Commander Park Jin-ho walked through what used to be a storage room, but was now their main command center. Emergency lights gave everything a soft glow, and the walls were covered with maps showing safe paths through the storm. His people had learned to live inside the monster that had scared away the entire galaxy. "Commander," called Lieutenant Bae Soyan from her communication desk, "we have more survivors asking for help. There's a group of Kethmoran warriors trapped on mining platform Delta. They have been hiding in their bunkers for 2 weeks, too scared to come out." Park looked at the map on his screen. The platform was deep inside the storm, but their network of hope broadcasts had grown like a spider web. Through the darkness, they now had safe paths leading to dozens of different locations. "Send Rescue Team 3, he said, "and tell them to bring extra food. The Kethmoran people are probably very hungry by now." Dr. Kim Minji had not slept much in 3 weeks, but her eyes were bright with excitement. She had figured out what the storm really was, and the answer made her both scared and angry. "It's a weapon," she told the group of scientists gathered around her computer. "Built by a race called the Morthok before they died out. They were so angry about losing their war that they created this thing to make sure no one else could have the galaxy." Dr. Yang Seojin looked at the ancient symbols on Minji's screen, a weapon powered by fear and despair. The more afraid people get, the stronger it becomes. "That's why it's been getting weaker around us," said Engineer Kong Minwoo. "We keep refusing to give up hope so it can't eat properly." Captain Im Ji-hoon had just returned from his 5th rescue mission. His small ship was specially equipped, with broadcast equipment that created a bubble of safety around it as it flew through the storm. Today, he had rescued a group of Voidwalker refugees who had been trapped near a dead planet. "They keep asking me the same question," he told Park as he removed his helmet. "They want to know why we're not afraid." I told them we are afraid. We're just too stubborn to let fear make our decisions for us. In the medical bay, Dr. Choi Hoon-woo was taking care of rescued aliens from 12 different species. Some had been hiding in broken ships for weeks. Others had been floating in spacesuits, waiting to die. All of them looked at the humans with confusion and wonder. "Your species is very strange," said a crystal being from the Voidwalker Collective. Its body flickered with weak light as it spoke. "We have studied fear for millions of years. It is the most powerful force in the universe, but you use it as fuel for something else." "What do you mean?" asked Hyun-woo as he checked the beings. "Energy levels. You feel fear, but instead of running away, you become more determined. This should not be possible. Fear is meant to keep living things safe by making them avoid danger." Hyun-woo smiled. That works for most species, but humans are not very good at doing what we're supposed to do. We see a dangerous mountain, and we want to climb it. We see a deep ocean, and we want to cross it. We see a storm that eats galaxies, and we want to understand it. The rescue operations had become routine. Every day, human teams would venture deeper into the storm, following their network of broadcast beacons to find more survivors. Each rescue brought new stories and new hope. Engineer Lee Tae-young was working on expanding their broadcast network when he made an interesting discovery. "Commander, the aliens we rescue are making the network stronger. Their own hope and gratitude is adding to our broadcasts." Park looked at the readings. It was true. As more aliens joined their safe zones and began to believe that survival was possible, the storm was getting weaker and weaker. In the school section, the human children had become friends with young aliens from different species. They played games together and drew pictures of their homeworlds. The alien children, who had been too scared to speak when they first arrived, were now laughing and making up songs with the human kids. "Look what we made," said little Kim Junho, showing Park a drawing made by human and alien children working together. It showed the storm as a sad, lonely creature, surrounded by all the different species, holding hands and offering it friendship. "Kids think the storm just needs friends," explained teacher Park Soyoung. "They want to broadcast their pictures to it." That night, Park made his weekly announcement to the colony. But now his audience was not just the 800 humans who had originally stayed behind. He was speaking to over 3,000 beings from dozens of different worlds. "Friends," he said, "when this storm first came, every wise species in the galaxy ran away. They called it unstoppable. They called it the end of everything. But they were wrong about one thing. They forgot to ask what humans would do." The communication system, he could hear cheering in dozens of different alien languages, mixed with human voices. "We didn't run because we're braver than everyone else. We stayed because we're too curious and too stubborn to give up. And now, look what we've built together, a network of hope that spans this entire storm." The storm still raged around them, but it was no longer growing. For the first time in millions of years, the ancient weapon was losing. The heart of the storm was a massive structure that looked like a dark cathedral made of twisted metal and shadow. Dr. Kim Ming-yi stood with her team at the entrance, their special suits glowing with the light from their portable broadcast equipment. After weeks of following safe paths deeper into the storm, they had finally reached its center. "Is it?" she said into her radio. "The source of everything?" The ancient Morthok weapon stretched up into the darkness like a mountain. Strange symbols covered its walls, and at its center was a huge sphere that pulsed with dark energy. Around the sphere, streams of shadow flowed like rivers. All the fear and despair the storm had collected from millions of years of destroying civilizations. Commander Park Jin-ho's voice came through the radio from the colony. "What do you see, Minji?" "It's a machine that runs on hopelessness," she replied, studying the alien writing on the walls. "The Morthok built it when they knew they were going to lose their war. If they couldn't have the galaxy, they wanted to make sure no one else could either." Engineer Han Dewan pointed his scanner at the central sphere. "The energy readings are incredible. This thing has been eating the fear of entire civilizations for thousands of years." Dr. Yang Seijin translated more of the alien symbols. According to this, the weapon was designed to grow stronger forever. Every time someone runs away in fear, it gets more powerful. The builders thought nothing could ever stop it. They were wrong, said Captain M. Ji-hoon, adjusting his broadcast equipment. They never met humans. Back at New Horizon Colony, thousands of beings from dozens of different species were gathered in the main hall. Humans, Zephyrians, Kethmoran, warriors, Voidwalkers, and many others, all the survivors they had rescued over the past weeks. Park stood before them and activated the colony-wide communication system. "Friends, this is our moment. Dr. Minji's team has found the heart of the storm. We're going to do what we do best. We're going to tell it exactly what we think of bullies who try to scare us." The broadcast began with simple things. Engineer Kung Min-woo read a letter his daughter had written about missing the flowers on Earth. Teacher Park Soyoung shared a poem written by her students about friendship between different species. Lee Do-yeon described his grandmother's recipe for soup that made people feel better when they were sad. But then something amazing happened. The alien survivors began adding their own voices to the broadcast. A Kethmoran warrior sang an ancient song about courage. Voidwalker shared the mathematical beauty of star formation. A young Zephyrian told a funny story about the first time she learned to fly. Inside the weapon's heart, Minji watched her instruments as the broadcast reached the central sphere. "It's working," she reported excitedly. "The dark energy is becoming unstable." The sphere began to shake and flicker. For millions of years it had fed only on fear, despair, and hopelessness. Now it was trying to process something completely different: joy, hope, friendship, and the stubborn human refusal to give up. "The weapon can't handle it," said Yang, watching the alien symbols on the walls flash and change. "It was never designed to deal with beings who face their fear and turn it into determination." More voices joined the broadcast. 8 children from 12 different species sang songs together. Scientists shared their excitement about discovering new things. Artists described the beauty they saw in each other's very different worlds. The central sphere began to crack. Dark energy leaked out. But instead of flowing away to feed the storm, it was changing. Where it touched the broadcast signals, it turned into something else. Pure, creative energy that sparkled with possibility. Commander Minji called over the radio. "The weapon is breaking down. But the energy it's releasing, it's not disappearing. It's transforming into something that can create instead of destroy." Through the colony's windows, people could see the storm beginning to change. The dark walls that had surrounded them for weeks were becoming lighter. In some places, they could even see stars again. But the most amazing thing was happening to the dead planets the storm had passed. As the transformed energy reached them, they began to change. New atmospheres formed around barren worlds. Oceans appeared on planets that had been empty rock. The weapon that had been built to end all life was becoming a tool that created new possibilities for living. Young Kim, Junho, who was now friends with alien children from 6 different species, looked out the window and pointed excitedly. "Look, the angry storm is becoming happy." Park smiled as he watched the transformation spread outward from their colony like ripples in a pond. That's what happens when you refuse to let bullies win. In the weapon's heart, the central sphere finally broke apart completely. The streams of dark energy became rivers of light that flowed out into the galaxy, healing the damage the storm had caused. "Mission accomplished," Minji reported. "The storm is finished." But as rescue ships from across the galaxy began arriving to help with reconstruction, Park knew the real victory was something else. They had shown the universe that even the most terrible weapons could be defeated by the simple human refusal to give up hope. A year later, New Horizon had become the capital of the rebuilt sector, dozens of worlds restored by the transformed energy. It's populated by species who had learned that sometimes the best way to face fear was to face it together. The memorial they built was simple. Here, when the galaxy ran in fear, humans chose to stay in hope. The storm devoured everything except human resolve.